Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insights with Experts. Joining us here today, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Stephen Lazar. So Stephen has done numerous things over his life, and I think today we're going to have an extra unique interview because we're going to be learning about something that many of us weren't taught about in schools or uni. So Mr. Lazar is the current managing director of properT Network, and yeah, it's really nice to have you here today. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for the introduction. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah. So, Stephen, I think just to
Okay.
get into it, the first question which I'd like to ask you, it's more or less the same question that we ask everyone that comes on, and it's really an overview of your journey. What inspired you to actually pursue the current field you're in, and perhaps what were those major moments along that way that really shaped the person who you are as of now?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you. I guess growing up in a family where we had to fend for ourselves and learn for ourselves, and my father always used to teach me, "Oh, you got your health, you got your wealth," and not really a true statement. Um, I My passion in life is helping people. I really love helping people, and if I can help someone improve on their lot in life, it makes me sleep well, and knowing I could do that gets me out of bed in the morning as well. So if I can help people improve on their lives in some way or another, whether that's financially or mentally or in business by help networking people, I just thrive on doing that. It's where I started my journey. I did financial planning for 15 years, and that was my way of helping and giving back to the community. And during that journey, I realized that the financial planning products don't really help people accelerate their financial planning goals. And property is something I've always had and owned since in my early 20s. And I worked out that property is an excellent vehicle to help people accelerate their goals.
Awesome. Yeah. And
Yeah, that's it.
you talk a lot about like helping other people, and I think that's something that we'll be talking about a lot as well here. That links actually very nicely onto the next question, which I'd like to ask you, which is all about the concept of money. And I think what's been fed to many people with like mainstream media and all that kind of stuff is the notion that money is, the root of all evil. That people who have lots of money, obviously, they aren't doing that to help anyone, and it's this notion that's being fed to a lot of people. I wanted to know what your thoughts on that were. Like, how do you think we can just demystify this entire notion that's being fed?
It took me more than 50 years to learn the answer to that. And since then, I keep growing and learning, and I love to share it. It just amazes me how 80% of the world's population have such a poor relationship to and with money, and they keep making the same mistakes or the same decisions to keep them where they are at in life because that's who they see themselves at. Like you said, money is evil, or the rich uncle was not a nice guy, you don't want to be like him, or rich people steal to become rich, they step on people. So you don't want to challenge your parents' beliefs, you don't want to challenge your peers' beliefs, and you kind of remain in this little bubble. And anytime you outside the bubble, you feel uncomfortable, so you come back in again. And when I learned this and I looked at my own life and I realized that what I alluded to earlier, my father used to say, as long as you've got your health, you've got your wealth. Well, the sad thing is he died young and poor. And I had to step in and help run his business because I thought my mother didn't have anything to really get her by. So my own mistakes that I kept making and not realizing why or even identifying was I'd do very well and then I'd correct. I'd do very well and I'd correct. It was never consistent because I always believed as long as I got my health, I've got my wealth. So I got to learn that um, about 2 years ago, and the lesson I learned in life, which is invaluable. And if they could teach it at schools, firstly, money does grow on trees when you plant the right trees. And with money, you can make many, many positive impacts on your life and other people's lives around you through your whole journey of life. So money is a damn good thing, and there's enough of it in the world for everybody. You just got to want to get it, and you've got to believe in it, that it does very, very good things. Money actually brings out more of who you are. So if you're inherently an evil person, you have more money, you're going to be a little bit more evil. If you're a giver and you've got more money, you're going to give a lot more. If you're kind and you've got money, you're going to be kind with your money. The money is a fantastic tool. It grows on trees if you plant the right tree, and it makes an impact, a positive impact on people's lives. So the premise where it all comes from is a belief is a thought that we keep having. So if you believe something, all it is just a thought that you keep having and repeating. So our thinking, we know, drives our emotions. Our emotions decide to take action or not to take action, which gives us the results we get. And the results we get go back to our belief. So our belief is our thoughts. Our thoughts set off our emotions. Our emotions say take action or avoid taking action, and we keep getting the same results. So if you want new results, you've got to change your thinking. And anyone can change their thinking. It's like that. Practice, it's hard work, but you can do it. No one's fixed, no one's forced you. If you've been brainwashed into the way you think now, Cheyenne, or everyone listening to us, if you've been brainwashed into that, surely you can have the same treatment and get brainwashed into believing that money is a damn good thing. Money is a very, very good commodity, and it's a beautiful thing. Why not treat it like that? Because you'll have different thinking, kick off different emotions, allow you to take the action you now need to give you the new results out of the old comfort zone. Does that explain it to you?
Yeah, yeah, of course it does. And I think it's very, very interesting that you talked about the fact that, we've initially grown up with this one thought, this one concept in mind about money. And if that's the concept that we have in our head, why can't we then change that and find a new concept, a new view on how we look at money? And I think in terms of how we got that concept, I think you also talk about it a little bit as well, in terms of the current education system and what's taught in schools. And if we currently look
Yeah.
at schools now, I think it's safe to say that schools are very good at making good employees. So students which are going to eventually take orders from other people, students who are going to, work for other people in firms. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But I think what schools miss out is exactly what you were talking about. So I wanted to then ask with that, how can students get involved in learning about this other side of money? So for example, with the work you're currently doing, things such as passive income, investments in real estate, how can students learn about that? How can we immerse ourselves in that stuff? And yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the belief and the thinking. You first got to start with that.
Okay.
Because if you don't change, you're not going to do it. So good old Robert Kiyosaki, for those who've read it in his famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the school system is there it's designed to turn people into employees, as you said. And without a job, your parents say, go to school, get a good education, go to university, get a good job, and then retire. And sorry, that's bullshit, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have enough to retire in the lifestyle that you deserve and you want to retire in. So Robert Kiyosaki says, hey, instead of carrying a bucket once a month that's leaking half the way home, and that's your tax you're paying, why don't you build a pipeline of different streams of income? So whether you're awake or asleep, you're still earning money. And wealthy people all create passive incomes, different streams of them. So whether they're awake or they sleep, it's the money's coming in. And it's just a change in thinking, changing attitude, changing your actions so that you can get those results.
Okay.
Does that answer what you're asking?
Yeah, of course. And you talk about the whole idea that we need to change the way we think, and because the way we currently think is a system that was, if we look at the education system, we're using the exact same system that was made 100 years from now. Everything else, cars, energy, has transformed into something completely new. education system still looks the exact same thing. It's still a bunch of students in a
Yeah.
classroom. So we're currently living in this outdated system. And I wanted to then ask, does this outdated system potentially explain the reason why, we currently have, 80% of people will not be able to retire with the lifestyle that they want and actually deserve for themselves? I mean, how is this an issue that we can actually like find a way around, I guess?
Yeah, let's add on to that sentence. It's retire the lifestyle they want, but also deserve.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves a lifestyle, and you don't feel guilty about it. You've got to feel good about it, and that's what you've got to aim for. So yeah, if you're a career person, that's one thing. And then on your career, create other streams of income with what you're earning. Hey, sorry, just to diversify, think of it this way. Every Monday, someone on a career goes to work. They work every Monday for the tax man, and
Mm-hmm.
they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for themselves. So is that what you want? And how can you change that even on a job? So take what you're earning, and instead of all the money leaking out the bucket for tax, divert some of that into an investment, pay less income tax, pay yourself first. I know I digress, so just get me back on track. You asked about, I think, the education system.
Yeah. So essentially why this current system means that we live in this current way, whereby most people won't be able to retire with that life, which they actually should retire with.
It's not only the system, it's our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at certain ethnic backgrounds, how the parents are saying, hey, I'll sacrifice anything so you can go get a good education. And you can't let your parent down because they've worked 2 or 3 jobs, they've struggled, they've eaten less so you could have more. You've lived in the wrong kind of dwelling so they could put more money away aside for education. Now you've got all this guilt on your shoulders and they want you to have a good job and a good career. But a good job and a good career doesn't really give you what you want, does it? So you've got to break those molds. It's not just the molds of the education system, it's the molds of um, the first world societies that are putting guilt on their children to become what the parent wanted to but never did. But when you look at their friends who did that, they work exceptionally long hours. They hardly see their kids growing up. They can't make financial planning decisions during company time because they're working such long hours and they'd rather give that work to the company than do it for themselves. And I say to clients when they tell me, hey, I'm too busy, I don't have time to look at my own stuff. I say, tell me, you're going to work for this company 5, 6 years. They're going to take sweat and blood, many, many hours. One day they're going to turn around and say to you, sorry, mate, it's time for you to move on because we've got 2 kids. They're going to pay them less than half that we're paying you, and they'll do the same work. Thank you for your time. And I asked them, will they turn around and give you a check for $150,000 or $200,000 extra because you worked those hours? And the answer is no. So look after yourself, put yourself first, shed the guilt, change your thinking. You're there to improve your lot. You're there to give your kids something, your future children, if you're young. You're there to enjoy life. You want to wake up in the morning with a good feeling and take on your hobbies and your sports and be with your mates. You don't want it to be all about work and career. Otherwise, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, they say that if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a single day in your life. So I guess that really relates to specifically what you choose. Are you going to do something that your parents want you to do, or are you going to do something that you actually enjoy? But yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting point which you've made. Now I'm going to move on now. Now to the questions that were submitted from our guest student. So the first question which Timmy had. So Timmy is a student which will be studying commerce at the University of Melbourne next year. And the first question, Stephen, which he wanted to ask you was, how do you feel your inner circle of friends and family have been influenced by your progression in your career and your personal life? And essentially, he's asking, what insights can you give us on being able to really juggle that work life and that family life as well?
bit of a double-edged question, a double-edged sword. Often you find if you're growing up with people and you're stepping above their level of comfort, they're going to look for reasons why you're not their friend anymore, or they're jealous or angry because you're doing things differently. You're not being on the same level as them. And you've got to be mindful of that. And the friends you grew up with, if they don't have the same values that you are evolving and adapting into, get rid of them. Don't don't be dragged down by people just because you grew up with them. They were your friends, even your family. So managing, or let me go back to using the brain. If you catch your thoughts, and you're conscious of your thinking, and you're feeling uncomfortable for a reason because maybe you're rising above the crowd, and then you feel bad and guilty, so you bring yourself back down to the level, or you say, I catch my thinking, I'm aware of my thoughts, I want to be here, I've just got to change my thinking to allow me to stay up here. And then guilt is just another, like I said to you, our thinking drives our emotion. Guilt is just an emotion, and it's not helpful. And if you want to be different and rise above as a student or as whoever it is, go for it. If you lose people along the way, it's their problem, it's not yours. Who cares? Who cares what other people think about you? You've got to care about what you think about yourself.
They,
What was the second part of the question?
yeah, so he was essentially saying how you could, I mean, in addition to when you move up in that corporate world, or just in life as a whole, how can we also really try to balance between our work life and potentially like our family life and our like social life?
Sometimes external factors are beyond your control, but if you're the kind of person who allows your seniors to take advantage of you and your time so that you think you can climb the corporate ladder quicker, they'll always take advantage of your thinking and your time. If you've got the skills and the confidence in yourself and you say, realistically, I know what you're asking of me, but it's not possible. I need to have some rest time, because if I have some personal downtime, I can get my energy levels back up again and I can be as efficient or more efficient than I am. But if you keep draining me, I won't have the energy and I won't be performing like you want me to. So allow me to have downtime. And since COVID, a lot of these management tools that are coming out, and understanding of people that prior to COVID, most people had no family life. Most people missed their kids growing up. I know a few people who said to me, their children are in corporate careers like lawyers and in the finance side, who were working exceptionally long hours, missing, by the time they get home, the kids are asleep. They'd kiss him in bed asleep. They would leave early in the morning. They wouldn't see the kids get up. The wife is stressed. That's not a life. You've got to set the boundaries. You've got to have boundaries. And luckily, the world is shifting to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm. I found it very interesting what you talked about in the start, because it reminds me of a quote which I once heard, and it was the fact that there's a reason why a Lamborghini or a sports car has got 2 seats. There's a reason why like a public bus has 24 seats. It's because at the top, it's a little bit lonelier. As you move up, you might have to lose some people along that way. And yeah, I just found that really interesting. I think moving on in terms of the next question, which he would like to ask you. So he asked, in property and investment, there will always be competition, so both within a company and externally as well. And he wanted to ask, how would you prioritize between working for your own personal gain and the welfare of perhaps the people in your company, the people in your team? So that's the first part of the question which he would like to know. And then the second part of that same question is, as a leader, what skills do you need to be able to discern between these two options?
If I can try and answer the second one first, I think, because it jumps to mind. A brilliant leader will surround himself with people who've got higher level of skills than he has, and a mixture of skills, and not be afraid, because you've got a team around you who's going to support your dream and your goals, and the clients, the company's dream and goals. Be mindful of it. Of don't be afraid of attracting people who are better than you at their job, because we can't have all the skills ourselves. So attract those into your life because they'll make you look a hell of a lot better. And delegate. It's the best thing in the world. Delegate, because you look better when you delegate and the results come in. Um, the first part of the question you asked kind of confused me a little bit because it was about corporate and then property investment.
Yeah.
So
So I think he was talking about just like, working with your firm, being a leader in your firm. And I think it's not necessarily, I think it's a question which could be applied to anyone who's situated in like a leadership experience. And, it's often, there'll always be some level of competition, not just externally with your firm and other firms as well, but perhaps inside that company as well. So what he's asking is, how do you really, I guess what he wanted to say, how do you prioritize between working for your own personal gain as well as the personal gain for the people around you?
okay, so what are your goals in life? What do you want out of what you're doing? Is very important to understand and know, and where you want to land up. So if you can keep on, if you have your plan in the background and you allocate time towards your own plan, and again, it's telling management, I cannot do what you're asking of me, and being honest and upfront. I've got all the skills, I've got everything, but you're trying to drain me of time that I don't even have for myself, let alone for you. So being open and honest in discussions with your team leaders and your management and people above you and the team around you, letting them know how you feel and your thinking, and other people are feeling the same. No one's putting up their hand to actually say it, because the fear of losing the corporate job, or someone else getting the promotion above you, if you're performing, they're going to keep you there because you're damn good at what you do. You've got to set time aside, because if you want to create other streams of income and you're working 10, 12 hours a day for a company, and then you go home, you eat, you're exhausted, you might have to do some reading. Before you know it, you're falling asleep and you go to bed and you wake up in the morning and you repeat the same thing over and over again. You're in a rut, and a rut is a grave. It's a 6-foot grave with both ends just dug out, so that it just goes forever and you're stuck in this thing. So once again, it's a mind shift. If you're happy with that, don't complain, stay there, because you just keep getting the same results. But if you're not happy, you've got to change something. Something's got to give and change. So if you want to be over here, change your thinking again. And thinking applies to every sphere in life. Be aware, catch your thoughts, catch them all the time. With your own financial planning goals, creating as other streams of income is vital, because coming and just give you the flick with like that and you're out, right? You've given them X amount of years, X amount of hours of your time. Create other streams of income that you have the choice, and you can turn around to somebody and say, you know what, this isn't working for us. I'm going to be moving on. And they say, but we need you. You say, yeah, you used me and you abused me, but I'm in a position now where I don't need you anymore. So put yourself in a far more improved position that you can call some of the shots.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess that's an interesting point with the fact that, when you're in a team, you shouldn't let other people use you. You should focus on yourself. But perhaps I just wanted to follow on. So in terms of the perspective of a leader, I mean, there's often that concept that, leaders eat last, leaders work for their employees, not employees work for their leads and so on. Would you say that in that case, it would be okay not to let other people use you, but to actually put time, put work into making sure that you're helping these other people around you?
Depends on what type of leader you are or want to be. Um, what you said about leaders eating last, leaders should eat together with the team. Everyone should be doing the things together. And if you surround yourself with people who are as strong, if not stronger than you, you'll all eat together. You'll all reap together. You'll all get rewarded together. So I think it's very much the type of leader you want to be, or the type of leader you've been taught by someone else to be that isn't you. And when you realize that, it's all, hey, it's all confidence. I mean, if you're playing poker with your mates and you've got the winning hand, you know that you've got four aces, no one out there's got four aces, you can sit back and you can relax. You can call any bluff and anything. You can get that kitty looking bigger and bigger and bigger because you got all the aces. No one's going to beat you. But if you're only holding one ace and you're bluffing, that the four aces are your belief in yourself and your skills and your team. If you only got one ace and it's all, can I use the word bullshit, and you're bluffing and you're living like that, it's short term, man. You're not gonna get far in life.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I think I'm just looking at time, so I'm going to move on to the next question, which you would like to ask you. Essentially, what that is many people state that being able to build connections, relationships with peers in many environments is an extremely valuable skill. But to what extent would you agree with that notion? And how would you advise those to actually pursue this, concept as well? And if you could as well, Timmy would also like to ask if you could give an example of where that would actually like work out well.
Yep. Um, it's vital in life that you connect with people who are going to help you with your journey of life and reaching out to them. They don't know that you're waiting to be tapped on the shoulder. They don't know that you're looking for them. So reach out to people and just be so genuine, so honest in your reach out and your purpose, and collaborate. I mean, we met through an online forum, you and I, and we just had this beautiful, honest chat.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the benefit. And we could create something here. If someone latches, just one person takes what I've shared today and believes in it and goes for it, their life will change forever. And that came from just you and I connecting. And we'll stay in touch in some way or another. Build a genuine relationship with people, never close doors. And if someone's pissing you off, keep them there. Show them the love, because that way, if you show someone who you're angry with love, they'll be coming back to you one day. They'll need you because they can see a different side of you. So what I'd advise is just pure honesty, being genuine, not bullshitting and saying, hey, I like your tie, or I see you go for Collingwood, or whatever it might be. But find something that's genuine about it and build on that and keep those people close to you. Um, Networking is vital. Having mentors in your life is vital. And there's loads of mentors out there. They don't know you looking for them. You've got to go out and tap them on the shoulder and say, I'm looking for a mentor. Can you help me? And that's where you'll accelerate your growth. And then just think of how many people the mentor knows. And when the mentor gets to know you better, and they say, you should be talking to all those people. And you then reach out through the mentor to those people. That accelerates your career. That accelerates your life. So don't sit back and wait. I've got time for a short story. I can give you an analogy. I remember when in one of the courses that I was doing, it happened in America, and in America you get the people from the north coming down to the south for the winters. In Florida, it's very warm in the winter, and in the north, it's very cold. So they call them the snowbirds. Anyway, this family moved down to Florida, and the neighbors knocked on their door and welcomed them, and cakes and everything, and everyone was merry. But the neighbors started noticing that the people had their front door closed all the time, the curtains were closed most of the time. They hardly saw the person anymore. The husband would go to work, the wife was nowhere to be seen. And so they stopped trying to notice the neighbor because they didn't want to be seen anymore. And a few weeks later, there was a moving truck outside the house, and they saw them packing the furniture. And they said, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you leaving?" And they said, "Well, we've been very lonely here." I said, "What do you mean you've been very lonely?" They said, "Well, no one's come to it." I said, "Well, hey, hang on a second. Your doors were closed, your curtains were closed. You were closed off to us. So if you wanted us, you should have opened up and let us in." And that's anything in life. If you've closed your blinds, waiting for somebody, they're not going to come. Open up to learning, open up to growing, open up your thinking. Just be open to the love and the energy of other people. Then they will come into your life.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a really, really, really important message which you said there. And yeah, and that's something that we've talked about a lot. I mean, the very concept of this site revolves around the fact that it's not about how much you know, but maybe a little bit more about who you know and how you actually get to know these people, and then that information that you can gain from these people as well. So I think that's a really, really nice point which you made. Stephen, we're going to finish off this interview with just one more question, and it is a classic question which we ask literally anyone that comes on here. What that is if you could leave the youth with just one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice actually be?
It's funny when you said the interview is coming to an end, and I thought I'm going to ask if I can add a point, and then you ask the question. So I think it's pertinent that you asked. Be open to being challenged. If you're open to being challenged and you challenge as well, don't take everything on face value. You're going to learn a lot more than if you're closed off. And maybe it's the same thing as the curtain analogy. If you're not open to be challenged, your curtains are closed and you're not going to grow. So open yourself up to being challenged. It's not to catch you doing anything wrong. It's not to pick you out. It's not to do anything. It's so that you can learn. Because if you're closed off, you're going to keep getting the same results. But if you're open to being challenged, it's part of the growth. And I hope that message is invaluable to whoever's listening to this.
Thanks for listening in. This podcast has been brought to you by Lazar, a platform designed to bridge the gap between the youth and professional. You can read more about us at lazar.org. And you can also check out the section titled Insights with Experts, where you can submit your questions that you might have for future experts and industries that you would like to learn more about. And you can also refer in any experts that you might know yourself.